When you're looking for a hydration product, what are the things that you're looking for?
If I'm ever looking for a hydration product, the number one thing I'm looking for is that it tastes good. Like, water has no taste at all. Water's what, like, nature turns to rehydrate, and that's a little bit boring. And then you come down, are you gonna go with sugar? Are you gonna go with sugar-free? And all of this is just conversations point. Does this taste better than the other product? That's it. Jocko Hydrate is delicious. It's got electrolytes. That's between you guys. I don't know what electrolyte is. Frankly, I don't even need one. You could give me more electrolytes than the opponent, I'll beat the opponent. You could give me less than the opponent, I'll still beat the opponent. I can't even spell electrolyte. This has them, whatever that is. And it tastes good, which is really what matters.
Yuri Prochazka fought very well. Yuri Prochazka is an excellent fighter. He's on a very short list for the greatest light heavyweights ever. Glover Teixeira is on that short list. And Yuri beat Glover Teixeira. I mean, just to put it into perspective. Now, Yuri has never lost a rematch. Can't say that now. He's going into title fight last night. And the reason I want to bring that to you is it would appear that Yuri learns, that Yuri makes adjustments, that Yuri believes in himself and doesn't get down. It would appear that he's very good at that. And I did think last night he looked good. I mean, light on his feet, wasn't scared. Guys will get hit in boxing, you hear, well, he'll never be the same. And it's more apparent in boxing than it is MMA, but certainly you've heard the expression, right? When a guy gets knocked out, he's never the same. The reason for that is not what guys try to tell you, that the chin becomes tender. Or I've even heard guys try to break it down. You got fluid back here, and you got a nerve right here, and it swells, and it gets... Shut up. The reason when a guy gets knocked out, right, there's a benefit in anything in life to not knowing. So now, when you're no longer naive and you realize you're human, it makes you cautious. It changes the way you fight, and that alone is why after a guy gets knocked out, he will be knocked out again. And I take the time to tell you that story because Yuri Prochazka stepped right into the fire. He did not shy away once. I mean, you get knocked out with a guy who, by the way, is a known striker. It's not rocket science. Your strategy in the rematch is to take him down. Yuri didn't even try. He clinched him once, but he never tried to take him down. And I'm sharing with you that Yuri did not have the apprehensions that other guys who were knocked out have. Yuri was able to compartmentalize. That's a hard word for me to say, by the way. Did I get it right? Compartmentalize. Rashad Evans always says that word. It sounds so beautiful. He got it from George Greenberg, and I can never get it out right. Goes over and believed in himself. Believed he could outstrike him. Believed he had made a mistake. He really fought very well. And you must acknowledge that about Yuri if you want to give the appropriate praise and recognition to Pereira. Pereira not only beat Yuri Prochazka last night, a top 5 of all time. He beat him twice. Pereira has not knocked out Yuri twice, as the record books tell you, or even your memories tell you. He's knocked him out 3 times. There is an exception out there, which is Ankalaev. I will admit that. That is a style that Pereira has yet to dominate. Okay, fine. But with that exception, when that fight is in the rear view, you are going to see very different and very quicker wins and performances by Pereira. Let me explain. Mike Tyson and Anderson Silva. The 2 most feared combat athletes I've ever seen. And pretty soon, guys didn't fight them. They had fights, but guys didn't fight them. You never knew who the better boxer was. Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon, just for example. You never knew Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno. Like, you don't really know who the better boxer is. You know who won, but you don't really know who's better because Frank didn't box him. Or Bruce Seldon, like, he didn't go box Mike Tyson. It was just, make this look good, get out of here in one piece. Guys did that with Anderson lots of times. And I only share that with you because we haven't seen that with Pereira yet. Like, these guys have fought him. These guys that Pereira's beaten, Sean Strickland comes to mind, but they are bringing their best skills. And that's going to change. He is going to be that feared guy. He is going to go into the Mike Tyson, Anderson Silva category. I believe he's there now. I don't believe there's a light heavyweight out there that will fight that man. In terms of bringing their skills, trying to win, believing actually that they can win. I don't believe there's one out there, and I will give an exception to Ankalaev, and I'm not trying to push that fight. I don't know if the squeeze is worth the juice. Like, what if? What if Ankalaev does get over on him? Do you really want them to trade places? And I only say that to qualify that I'm not looking to build up the life. He's just an exception. He's not. He's very stoic. He's had a different life. He's not going to be scared. And the rest of the guys are human beings. And it really is an incredible thing to see. I tried to get a hold of Jon Jones last night. I don't have his number. Somehow in my phone, Jon Jones's number became Sean O'Malley's number. Somehow that happened. So then I was trying to decipher which was which. So I had to go to area codes and Google. Okay, great. Find out what Sean's is. Get the one that's John's out of there, the New Mexico one. Add it to a different thing. And then that's a 15-year-old number. The point is, he might be ignoring me. And maybe I didn't reach out to him at all. But I tried. You want to know why? I wanted his opinion so bad. What are you seeing here? Like, we can play the game if Jon is the greatest fighter of all time. We can play that. And you can be a guy like me that resists it and says, no, look to spot number 2, because there's still a guy out there named George St. Pierre. But you're not going to get a guy, even like me, to put Jon lower than 3. Ever. I offer you that because that's overall. There's not a question of who the greatest light heavyweight was. Okay? We at a minimum can give Jon GOAT status within his own division, of which he dominated. Okay. I really wanted his opinion. Hey, what are you seeing here? And Jon isn't even bigger, even as heavyweight champion. He's not even bigger than these guys. You know, Prochazka's in the 220s, 227, 229. Jon's 234. It's the same thing. Pereira's 230, 232. Jon's 234. I mean, it's the same thing. To make believe that Jon cannot pull the weight down and walk right back home here, and all of a sudden this story and all this enamorment that we have is going to be gone in a hurry. But I really wanted his opinion. What are you seeing? How is this working? I haven't the foggiest idea what Pereira has that other guys don't have. Let's go back to George St. Pierre. But when George was fighting, it was very clear we have a different level athlete. Like, there's nothing that you would see within George St. Pierre that would make you think if he had focused on jiu-jitsu, he wouldn't win Abu Dhabi. If he focused on wrestling, he would not win the Olympics. That if he focused on basketball, he would not be the shortest and MVP of the league, right? I mean, like, he could go into swimming and you would pick that he would be the country's representative. It was just one of those things. You saw a different caliber athlete. Is that what we're seeing with Pereira? Is it? Is that why a guy that doesn't have a black belt has 2 gold belts? What is it that's so special and unique? He doesn't move in a dynamic fashion like Anderson, Floyd, Roy Jones Jr. Those guys had a rhythm. Those guys had a rhythm and a beat, for example. Pereira doesn't have that. He's not perfect with the basics. His record would be perfect right now had he followed the basics. If he kept his chin down and his hands up, he would not have lost to Adesanya. Just for example. So, what is it? He doesn't have access to better trainers. I've seen him lift weights, but weren't the most weights I've seen lifted. I've seen him run. Wasn't the furthest I've seen guys run. I've seen him sprint fast. Wasn't the fastest I've seen. What is it that he's got? I've never seen an athlete, guys, at 36 years old that can come over to a sport and win a world championship. Okay, let's back up and be fair. 35 years old when he won his first. I've never seen it, and I don't just mean in this one. In fact, Randy Couture, they called him the natural, and over time people said that was because he was natural. He didn't use performance enhancers, but that they changed it. They actually named him the natural because he could walk in on day 1 and play, and he was 34. So I do believe Randy could have done it at 35 or 36, but he didn't. And so when I tell you I've never seen it before in sport, I've literally never seen it. If there's an exception, please tell me. If you know a guy that went over to a sport, I don't care what his background was. I don't care if he was an athlete and he changed sports. I'll take it. I remember Bo Jackson did something like that. Bo Jackson was playing football and went over to play baseball. Did he do it at 35? I don't think so. As good as Bo was, he didn't make it to the world championship. Do you know anybody, even let's go amateurs, right? It's Olympic year. Do you know anybody that joined a swimming team or joined gymnastics or powerlifting or ping pong or anything else that they played? Do you know anybody, regardless of what they did before, that went into a brand new sport at 35 and became the best? I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I don't know how it's happening. I don't know how he's so stoic. I don't know how he is so calm. His cardio, I'm talking about Pierre here, his cardio is something to write home about, but why? He doesn't train differently. He doesn't eat differently or sleep or have access to something that everyone else doesn't have. I bring up how stoic he is because we will so many times talk about it, particularly in combat sports. Who has the pressure? Who's dealing with the emotion? And the reason pressure or any emotion matters and you do your best to really contain it, it just creates an exhaustion. It creates a fatigue faster than if you could remove it from the equation. So Pereira, who is very stoic, he's not scared, he's very calm. That does help with conditioning, but guys, I'm talking about a couple minutes. I'm talking about over a 25-minute period. That one thing, well, that'll get you a couple minutes versus another guy that's panicked out. So, all right, great. There's a compliment I can give him. But I have been, as a leading expert in this sport, a leading expert in that I went to, and I'm not punching my own ticket here. It's quite the opposite if you let me get through this, but I hired by ESPN to come on and tell the world what it is we're looking at. And I have been on campus in Bristol, the headquarters of the worldwide leader, about to walk into studio, telling Gilbert Melendez what it is I'm getting ready to say. And it's to break down a Jon Jones fight. And I was getting ready to say that Jon was chosen by God. And I realized that's not an analysis. But I had to catch myself. I had no other explanation as to how Jon was as good as he was. That's why I'm telling you. That's why I'm turning to Jon. Jon, what do you see? The world is different. Jon's experiences are different. Okay, what do you see? I couldn't reach him. But I want that opinion so much. Jon left light heavyweight to take on a challenge. And he succeeded in shocking ways. He became the heavyweight champion of the world without ever being punched by a fellow heavyweight. But that was the bigger risk. That was the perception. That was the bigger risk. To go up. To leave a belt behind and go up to the absolute premier division of the heavyweights. The one that Muhammad Ali had. The one that Mike Tyson had. The one that Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair had. And it now appears the risk would be to go back down. But I don't think it's incumbent on Jon. Pereira started the dialogue. Pereira is as tall or taller than Jon. He's as big or bigger than Jon. He wants that fight, he needs to come up. I bring it up to you because sooner or later it's going to turn into very quickly that Jon is scared. Don't do that. Do whatever you want with this fight. Don't do that. Because he's not. And it's not completely out of the question that he would go back down. Like, if you think you really want that match or you think Pereira wants that match, don't kid yourself. So does Jon. And I would just love to know what it is he sees. I don't think that fight is going to happen, by the way. And I'm very sure that Jon is not going to go down to 205 for that fight. But it's an interesting topic. It would be a very interesting perspective. Like, Yuri Prochazka, who knew it is not a good idea to stand with Alex. I've already done it. It's not a good idea. Was forced to stand with him. Now, he didn't even try to take him down. But the reason he didn't even try to take him down is he felt something within the first fight where he knew the squeeze isn't worth the juice. The effort and the energy to get him down, and my lack of confidence, one, that I can do it, or two, to keep him there. That energy is too great, and I'm not going to use it. I'm going to put everything into this one round. Come on, you think Jon can't take him down? I mean, not for nothing, but right, do you think Jon can't take him down? I'm just saying, what an interesting match. And what an interesting time. You now have Pereira, who is the biggest star in the sport. I don't believe that's literal, because I don't believe he's passed up Sean O'Malley. But I'm making a point, and you understand my point. And Pereira could sell more tickets than Jon Jones. Pereira has already, for his title fights, brought in 2 and 3 times higher box offices to do the same weight class and the same title that Jon did. But I'm not even going to ask you if you think Pereira can beat Jon. I'm going to ask you, do you think Pereira could win a single round against Jon? And while you're processing that, I'm asking you from the perspective that we've had this conversation, guys. Jon Jones was cursed with the same thing that bit Roy Jones. And it was, your greatness is so apparent, we can't bring in blockbuster pay-per-views. We can't bring in blockbuster gates. Because it's a story that people are confident they know the ending to. So, if you do agree that Jon could go back home and grab his belt back, if you do agree with that, then you would understand where it's a very interesting point that Pereira being the bigger draw, right? Like that'll run its course too at 205. He will be forced to either retire, which is what Khabib did. Plenty of guys do it. Reach their goals, make their money, get out. Clock's ticking, age is getting up there. Or he'll be forced to go to heavyweight. So, Jon Jones versus Pereira, well, I can tell you it's not going to happen at 205. Jon Jones versus Pereira is a little bit more plausible than you might think.